An analysis of the latest Consumer Price Index and inflation report released by the National Bureau of Statistics has revealed that Nigerians are finding it more difficult to feed themselves as food inflation rose to 40.66% in May. The report also indicated that the cost of food rose by 61% from 25.25% in June of 2023 to 40.66% in May 2024, highlighting a steady rise in the cost of living. Now, the NBS said that headline inflation moved by 0.26% to 33.95% from 33.69% recorded in April, while the report highlighted that the inflation rate climbed to a 28-year high since March 1996 on higher food and transport prices. Let's bring in food security expert and agriculture value chain expert, Reginald Ekeanyanwu. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight.
Thank you for having me.
One could describe you as a friend of the house already because you've been here a number of times talking about this situation, the food crisis in Nigeria, and it looks like it's getting worse by the day. 40.66% food inflation. That's a very scary number, isn't it?
Exactly.
Or figure, if you like.
I can't. From the indices on the streets, we are getting to a tipping point when it comes to hunger, and you know, as long as a person can have access to food, there is hope for that person.
Right.
But when hunger becomes the daily norm of an individual, there is a problem. And that is exactly what is driving our insecurity issues. Now, I see that the food problem seems to be based on the insecurity situations that are happening, especially amongst the farming communities. As at when I got the call to be in the studio today, I was having a meeting with farmers in Benue State, in Adoka,
right,
where we were looking at addressing the issue of pesticides when it comes to agriculture, which is one of the reasons why our food is not being acceptable in the foreign scene.
Abroad?
Yes.
Right.
But you see, we were dealing with that. That's an issue. But another thing was the issue of insecurity. Now, insecurity has become an issue that the government has to address. I think that the government is playing with the issue of insecurity when it comes to farming. The farmers are moving out of the farming communities. Right. The farmers are no longer willing to risk their lives. A farmer was in Adoka farming, went to farm, and he got killed in the presence of his wife. He was butchered. I was talking with Chief Madakiami this afternoon, and I was saying that the trauma that the wife of this farmer must be facing is something that cannot be described. And so the farmers are no longer going to their farms. They are now farming within their communities. And that is one of the reasons why our food inflation is going high. Secondly, if you look at it, our farmers are still farming with hoes and cutlasses. And
you've made that point a number of times here. The need to go into mechanized farming.
We have to mechanize agriculture. Agriculture is an interesting business. In fact, agriculture is the best business any country can get involved in. I know that Nigeria thinks that oil is the best option that we have. Oil is a good thing, but oil cannot be compared to agriculture. Agriculture has capacity to absorb all the non-employed Nigerians, the youths. But we have to do agriculture in such a way that is attractive to the youth. And technologies are available. All other countries are practicing agriculture in a mechanized way. Nigeria is still doing hoe and cutlasses. And as a result of that, we are not able to produce what we are capable of producing. I was traveling, we went to have a meeting with in Benue State with the Ministry of Agriculture, where there are some foreign investors that are looking to cultivate 30,000 hectares of farmland. And we went to have these meetings. When we were driving from Makurdi to Otuko, right and left, you can see extended greenhouse, endless farmlands that we can cultivate, we can commercialize our farming, and then we can produce enough food that we shouldn't be talking about hunger in Nigeria.
We'll come to that, because that's a very, very important point that you raised there. There's so much land, so much arable land, that Nigeria has no business talking about hunger or food insecurity. But there are other factors contributing to, this food insecurity situation that we find ourselves, apart from the security, issue in the country. Seasonality. It is an issue, isn't it?
Exactly.
Like tomatoes now. I mean, it was always predictable that in June, around this time, tomatoes will be scarce and will be very expensive. So there's the issue of affordability on the one hand and availability on the other hand.
Exactly.
How do we tackle this?
First of all, we're not supposed to be talking about seasonal farming at this stage, when we have irrigation systems that can keep us farming all year round. The technologies are there. The government the people in government prefer to drive the SUVs, to buy the Land Cruisers and the Hiluxes and be driving them around, when one Land Cruiser can provide enough irrigation system to run a commercial agriculture in a local government at the local government level. So we have a situation where our government officials think that the moving around and spending money for frivolities is what they ought to be doing. They need to be addressing what needs to be addressed. Nigerians are getting hungry. And when they get to a point of hunger that they can no longer accommodate, there's going to be a revolution in the country.
In July last year, July of 2023, there was a declaration of food emergency in food sector, and that the president set up this committee on food security. I mean, you would think that all these moves, alongside other policies that are being put in place, would make some difference. What exactly is fundamentally wrong?
The interventions of the government are not getting to the right people.
Right.
Now, we have the middlemen. We have political middlemen that are not farmers that are having these interventions. Now, the government has declared an emergency on agriculture. First of all, we have been able to create clusters of farmers. There are clusters of farmers across Nigeria that are existing today that are waiting for agricultural implements. Because part of the thing we began to address is the fact that we saw that for us to be able to do agriculture right, our farmers can no longer farm as individual farmers because they cannot afford agricultural technology as individuals. So what we did was to cluster them and create investment portfolios on their behalf. So they are ready to take in technologies to scale up production. Now, government interventions, the funding goes to individuals who are not farmers. These people, the interventions don't get to the farmers. Tractors, they buy tractors. The tractors are allocated to individuals.
So how can governments sideline this middlemen you talk about and the portfolio farmers you talk about to ensure that the real farmers get these interventions?
The government has to be talking to the people who are doing the actual work. There are organizations in Nigeria, there are private sector participants in Nigeria that are actually doing the real thing. They have organized farmers, they have millions of farmers that are existing in clusters. The government needs to reach out to these individuals and release the implements. I keep saying, don't give farmers money. Give farmers agricultural implements. Right. They have lands, they are already cultivating. Secondly, we should open up commercial farmlands. Now, the local governments, there's something that we've been doing. I mentioned the last time I was talking here. We're talking about turning our industrial corridor, the 774. We're doing a program, the 774 industrial corridor. Where
in all the 774 local governments.
So the local government level, at the local government level, we can open up new commercial farmlands that we can employ the youths to farm while we are producing food at that level and then also processing at that level. Like you talked about tomatoes.
Yeah.
Tomatoes, what is the problem with tomatoes? Tomatoes comes out in the harvest time, we have enormous tomatoes. After a short period of time, because we are not storing, we need the facilities to store. We should store and then we should process. If we process tomatoes to paste, at that time, what happens is that we absorb the harvest and then we can regulate it and introduce it as the demand arises. But here the situation where all the tomatoes comes in at the same time, and then after a few months, there's no tomatoes anymore.
And most go to waste.
Yes, most go to waste. Yeah. So we need to address food loss, are you getting me? By ensuring that we have to do farming the same way others are doing farming. Look at the way China is doing farming. Look at the way Netherlands are doing farming. The Americans, they are doing farming. They subsidize farming. It's only in Nigeria that we don't subsidize farming. Nigeria should be investing into farming more than we are investing into any exploration of oil. If we commercialize agriculture, even if we invested 10% of what we invest into oil into agriculture in Nigeria, what is going to happen is that we are going to produce enough food to feed the entire Africa.
Speaking of subsidizing farming, one of the plans in this emergency, food plan was to, redeploy the funds saved from fuel subsidy removal to agriculture.
Yes.
Is that happening at all?
It's not happening. That's what I'm telling you. There is a cartel. There is a cartel that is standing in between the government interventions and the agricultural implementation. We must dismantle these people. The government has to reach out to the people. The farmers are there. The state governments, the local government at the local government level. That's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about the autonomy of the local government. We must take advantage of it. I keep saying that the monies that goes from the federal allocation to the local government has to be channeled. We must channel them to use them to do commercial agriculture at the local government corridor. Then number two, we must also add value addition to our agriculture. In doing so, we will address food loss. And food loss, Nigeria loses close to 10 to 15 to almost $20 billion annually on food loss alone. And that we keep saying that we are borrowing money. We are borrowing money to do what? When we are not using the money to do what needs to be done. And the people are going hungry. There are no jobs. There is no food. Very soon we are going to see insecurity has not started.
So in strategizing on the way forward, there will be the short term, the medium term, and the long term, as far as hunger is concerned. What approach should government, bring to bear now to ensure that this immediate situation, which is hunger, present Nigerians are hungry. Even the president admitted that much today when he said, look, I know there's hunger in the land, but I will not turn my back on Nigerians. Last year, again, there was the plan for National Commodities Board and all kinds of plans. In the short term, in the immediate short term, medium and long term, can you help government understand what it needs to do now?
Government should stop giving palliative. What is palliative? 5,000 naira palliative. Even if you're giving 50,000 naira to the households in Nigeria, what is that? How much food can that buy? Channel these monies that we are talking about into acquiring implements. Niger state government took delivery of hundreds of tractors, and they are doing something. Now, but what we are saying is that don't do politics with these things.
Right.
Get to the farmers. The farmers are already in clusters. We have farmers. My company we have farmers in all the states across the nation. We have farmers in local levels. We have created clusters of them. We have been looking for agricultural implements. Part of the thing that we are doing now is to outsource the general public. Very soon, I'm hoping that one of these days we'll be able to give a vivid description of what we are saying. That if the government is not ready to do the right thing, the general public must participate and partner with these farmers.
How do you get the public involved?
You can own a tractor. If you can afford to own a tractor, we can deploy your tractor in an Uber-like franchise. Now, your tractor, you have a tractor, we have a cluster of farmers. You can decide that your tractor should go to so local government in Nigeria. And then we can deploy your tractor because we have a cluster of farmers that are already there. They will use your tractors, but they will pay you to use your tractors. Are you getting me? With that, we help them to produce more food.
It's a win-win situation.
Yes, we can have individuals own processing plants. We can have individuals own irrigation systems. We can have, since the government is not ready to do the right thing, the general public must participate. Everybody has to become a farmer. Either you're farming directly or you are farming the farmers.
Right.
If you're farming the farmers, then you're providing agricultural implements to the farmers. And if we did this, if we synergize together, if we work together as a people, we can solve the problem. And I keep saying, the corridors where we have insecurity, if Nigeria has 774 local governments. The corridors that we have insecurity are not up to 100 out of the 774. Right. So it means that we have 674 that are ready to farm. Let's deploy commercial agriculture at that level. Let us open new farmlands and then let us...
Great point you raised there. But very quickly, there's NERSA, National Seed Council and Research Institute. How effective is this agency of government? Is there any interface between farmers and this?
The farmers are there. Body? Yes, some of these organizations are doing their best. But one of the things I keep saying is that let's abandon GMOs. I
was actually going to ask that. Okay, so.
Let's abandon GMOs. All these ones that we keep talking about, greenhouse farming, that is complete nonsense to me. Are you getting me? Because we have natural greenhouse. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of kilometers of God-given greenhouses that we just need to open up to farm. And then let us use our natural seeds that our forefathers used for tens of thousands of years. All we need to do is scale up farming, scale up production, and we have enough food to feed the nation.
Very quickly, what's wrong with genetically modified food?
There are so many things that we can, if we start talking about it today, we will not be able to finish up. There are situations where some of these genetically modified foods, they yield for you today. Are you getting me? They give you high yields, but by the next season, their yields depreciate until they are no longer yielding again. Right. And then so you must keep buying them from those who are producing them while your own natural seeds are already corrupted. So you can't farm. So you have to depend on these people to keep. So why should we be modifying food when what we have has served us over the years?
It's a good place to leave it. Reginald Ekeanyanwu, agri value chain expert. You'll have to come back.
Thank you so much.
Of course, this is inexhaustible.